that's been driven and the amount of conversations that have been had about burnout and stress, I do believe that it's designed and it's intentional to keep us in this paradigm of woe betide me, look at me. And it's only by breaking through that that we actually get to live the life that we want, truly want. And that starts with I just wanted to come on here and talk about, for the next 20 minutes, to set out what I see most people getting wrong when we use our energy or we talk about energetics, and also give you a 4-step framework to utilize your energy in a way that is so powerful and very much works for you. And this is something that I've worked with, and I want to explain the reason for this as well, because it's something that I feel so passionate about. So if I do tend to riff, it's because it means so much to me, and I am absolutely committed to see as many women as possible become millionaires and really step into the power, because we know that when society thrives, particularly for women, then children also thrive as well. And that's why I do the work I do, because it's something that is so close to me, where I went from being homeless, living in temporary accommodation with my parents, with my parent and family, to building something that I didn't even know I was capable of. And I still don't even know that, some things I'm doing, I'm still capable of. So that's why I wanted to jump on, because I see like the top 0.01% doing this, and it's not mainstream. So that's the purpose of this session. And I will give you a 4-step framework to work through in terms of how we're healing forward. So how this came about is I work with very talented, incredibly skilled women and men. And I see very similar patterns that emerge. And for those that are joining, thank you for joining. I appreciate you giving your time up. And I'm really glad you're here with me. It helps to keep my company in the, cloudy UK. So let me just turn a light on, because it is a bit dark here. That's better. So the starting point that I want to really lean in on is, and I'm going to qualify and say this might sound controversial. I don't even know why I'm qualifying it, because it is a view that I hold and I have come to believe by working on myself and with my energetics. And I think most people have it wrong, where they're letting their power go unchecked and unused, and deferring to someone else's framework or to another system because it works for that particular individual, or it works for that at that point in time for those people. And that means that we're destroying our ability to create something that is so powerful for ourselves. And as a result of that, you see that we're becoming, more of the group thinking, more of the I agree, and, more of the mental health thing about burnout and, stress and anxiety, because we are deferring or outsourcing our power, which is our energetics, and silently sleepwalking through life. And I was there about maybe 3-4 years ago. I mean, there was a pattern that was emerging in my life, and every time, I'm spiritual, so I have healing, and I do meditations and affirmations, etc. And I was in this mindset of the more I heal, the better my life would be. The more healing I did, the more things would work out for me. And so I was in this pattern and this cycle of I'm healing and I'm healing and healing and healing, but my life wasn't shifting. I was still cycling or recycling the same patterns. I was still re- I look back on my life, and for 3 years, I felt as if I was literally just circling the same patterns. And I sort of started questioning, what's going on? Why am I not, every time I move forward, I seem to be pulled backwards. And, I was like, I thought I'd heal this. I thought I'd cleared this. But what I hadn't connected is if if you're not consciously, intentionally thinking about he moving forwards into the life that you want and being able to describe that in a way that breaks through your patterns, in a way that challenges your nervous system and also challenges your body and your energetics as well, then your reset point will always fall back. And this is something that I've seen and I've also experienced, because as leaders, one of the options that we tend to take is the what are the tactics, or we need a new strategy. What's the strategy? And then what are the tactics? Without stopping to think, okay, is this the right strategy in the first place? And is it aligned to where we're heading? You and it can be that the strategy is absolutely correct, absolutely spot on. But the underlying or the invisible tension that's going on between the gap of the strategy and the actions that needs to be taken is what's actually causing the friction. And what I mean by that is, if the strategy or the actions are built on taking steps from where you are today instead of where you want to be in, say, 3, 5 years, then of course you're going to get more of the same. Of course you're going to get the frictions. Of course you can be feeling as if things are plateauing. And that's what I recognize that I was repeating, because I was doing it on the basis of, where am I in my life right now? What are the things that I want? And so I was keeping myself safe. And my nervous system was doing a really good job. It was doing a fantastic job of keeping me safe as well, because I was like, no, that's really safe, No, the thought of stepping out and, having multiple 7, 8 figures, like, no, that's not for me. That's for other people. Because that's the way I was conditioned or taught, growing up. I remember my dad used to say, Ingrid, that's not for people like us. And at school, my teacher would say, yeah, you come from the wrong side of the tracks. And that's no different to now as well. If you sort of bring that forward, in the workplace for women, if you fall pregnant, oh, she's not coming back to work. Oh no, she couldn't possibly run a multiple 6, 7 figure business with kids and, doing what she does. Oh no, that could not possibly happen. And that's the reason we're doing that, and the reason we're perpetuating it. And this is why society really wants to keep us in that paradigm as well. Because it serves a bigger purpose for more people to stay stuck. Because let's face it is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so I had someone who came to me and said, I've done all the courses, I've done all the programs. But in actual fact, I feel worse. I feel worse about myself than I did when I started. And that absolutely took me back, because they had played in the absolutely big league. They had paid fortunes for these programs, in these retreats, in these meditations, in these hacks and things. They still felt as if what they were doing and how they were doing it was not connecting to the life that they wanted. So when we took a step back and said, right, okay, what is your vision? What do you want for yourself? What do you want for your life? What, the wheel of life that you go through, in these areas, what do you aspire to? And where this person was thinking, where they'd got to was this. My life is kind of working at the moment. Everything's fine. So yeah, I probably could do a 1-step or 2-step. So maybe I could move from a 5 to a 6 or a 6 to a 7. And the thing is, it wasn't that individual who was really talking. It wasn't coming from within. And this is why I think the energetics is so powerful, because when you ask someone to close your eyes just for 10 seconds and imagine that you are this limitless, infinite being with no limits, and you're ready to bring forward all that potential into your life right now, what does that look like? And that's when it comes that actually I've been thinking about this for a long time, but I've put it to the side or put it on the back burner because it didn't feel bold enough, or I didn't feel I was bold enough, or it was such a bold, audacious dream. I didn't know how I could do it. So this brings me on to the 4 steps, because what I discovered is there are some techniques that the top 0.01% use. And, if most of you have read Think and Grow Rich, you'll know that that's a sanitized version of the book that Napoleon Hill wrote originally when it was commissioned by Rockefeller. And that book, actually, the original, contained the mechanics, and it spoke of the energetics to build a life and live a life that you truly wanted. But because it was so powerful, the decision was this should not be in the hands of mainstream. So we're not, go and dilute it, go and sanitize it, and then publish the sanitized version. So that is Think and Grow Rich. And there's another book, again, that speaks very similar. So if you look back through history, you'll see that leaders, entrepreneurs, business owners, the most successful people have used the power of their energetics to unleash, and I'm using the word unleash, their big dreams and their big goals. But somehow this has sort of been disappearing or condensing in this environment. And, if you notice what's going on at the moment, the fear that's been driven, and the amount of conversations that have been had about burnout and stress, I do believe that it's designed and it's intentional to keep us in this paradigm of woe betide me, look at me. And it's only by breaking through that we actually get to live the life that we want, truly want. And that starts with the 4 steps, or, we sort of work through the 4-step framework, which is aligning to the biggest vision that you possibly have for your life. And this was a piece of work that I've been doing, and I sort of recently updated it, where you working in conjunction with your nervous system and your soul, and having that conversation of, what do you desire of me? And working through that. So aligning to, what is that big thing that if I was to not achieve it in this lifetime, I would come back again and again and again and do it until I achieve it. And for some people, that might be, the money, or it might be to end poverty, or it might be um, to see no homeless dogs, stray dogs, for example. And then that the money becomes a byproduct of that. Whatever it is, it's like, what is that big thing in life that if you could achieve, you would not hesitate to come back to this lifetime? And that is the alignment of that big vision. And once you align to that, you start to realize just how powerful you are and how small you've been playing. Because that was something that really woke me up and went, oh shit. The things I thought I wanted are not the things I actually wanted. And so once you align to that big vision, you then start to activate, which is a second step, into, okay, what are the baggage I've been carrying that are not mine anymore? And some of that comes from past lives, some of it comes from childhood, some of it comes from society. And this is the really powerful part, because, and this again is where it differs to mainstream of, let's heal this and it will go away. Because once you activate that vision, once you align to it and you activate that inner part of you, you will start to see that the clearing and the healing was actually designed to keep you stuck. It's actually designed to keep you cycling the same patterns. And the only way to do that, to break from that, to activate that higher timeline, is to work on expanding your capacity, expanding the bubble. I call it the bubble, expanding your bubble to receive and to hold. And this is where, some people talk about reset point with money and thermostat. I used to believe that. I'm not there anymore, because I also believe that we have a predetermined path that in conjunction works with our limitless self to propel us into our highest timeline. And so when you are working in that frequency and you're working in that, aligning and you're activating, it doesn't mean that everything's going to run smooth. And it doesn't mean that you're not a match for money or the frequency. What it means is simply that there are some lessons and some experiences that our body and our soul, part of our life path, has said we want to experience, because it elevates us to a higher level. And I read something yesterday that said that neuroplasticity and quantum science is now actually proving that there are some things that just cannot be explained, and there's some things behind this invisible realm that we know exist. And science is catching up to say, yes, there is that energetic lens. Because when you're working with your energy and when you align that energy, even when things aren't going your way, you know that this isn't about stopping or being in the energy or easing up the way that we've been the way society says this is ease up and be in the energy, you know that that's not what it means. We know that ease means take action. When you get those downloads and you get those inspiration, we know that ease says you move, not wait. And that takes you on to the next stage. And these things aren't, that's what I'm looking for. These things don't happen in separation. They continue to, they continue and they do concurrently as well. So the next stage then is to embody. When you embody the attributes that represents the vision, not the attributes of these are the things I'm doing today and it's making me feel safe and I'm okay with that. But when you're embodying the attributes of that future self, of that future visioner, that leader, the entrepreneur who knows that their business is here to deliver good, the leader, the executive who knows that in the workplace or in their business, they have a responsibility and a duty not just for their team, but also for society and the greater good. When you take on those attributes and you shed the ones of the doubt, the hesitation, or the procrastination, and consciously step towards those pillars of, I know this feels fucking uncomfortable. I'm going to understand why it feels like this. And then I will reassure my body that it's safe. And at the same time, I'm going to do the healing to expand my capacity. But I have that, my North Star, I have that line of vision. That means that you are unstoppable. And so when you're embodying those future attributes, by design, you're knowing and noticing the ones that you need to drop off, the ones that needs to drop and shed for the future ones. And it doesn't mean that it will go away permanently, but it allows you to spot it and identify it a lot faster. And this again is where I see the disconnect and where I see that we talk about, for you to achieve your goals, for you to do what you want to do, you need to shift your identity, you need to embody. But when you're actually embodying something that feels alien to your body in the first place, that would just cause collapse, and that pushes the person further back than where they were. Because there's like this trifecta, like your body is shutting down on you. Your mind is working overtime to tell you that you're in danger. And your system is saying to you, whoa, I don't want to do this. And that's why we see when someone may have a really big month, they might fall back, or they'll fall back to being in bed for a week or sometimes 3 weeks. Because the acclimatizing and the aligning has not taken place. And so those 3 steps, by aligning, then activating, and then embody, really sort of prime and paves the way for the next move, which is you ascend into the identity that you've described and that will deliver the results. That way, your body's working with you, your nervous system is working with you, your mind is working with you, and then it all comes together with the energetics. Because strategy is 5%, energy, your energetics is 95%. And that's the thing that doesn't get named. It's get to 30K, get to 50K, get to 100K, get to multiple 7 figures. And when we get there, we still feel unfulfilled. We still feel empty because it's been done in a way that is force, push, push. And of course, anyone can do that. You can get there that way. But that really comes at a cost. And if you want to do it the way that says, you know what, I'm going to work with my body, I'm going to work with my soul, I'm going to work with my essence, and I'm going to create value. That's when you step into those big months and you step into those big years, you're like, yeah, of course. I knew that was coming. Yeah, of course it is. It's not, oh yes, I'm brave and I'm really clever and I'm really intelligent. Yes, we are, absolutely. But the top 0.01% recognize that to get there faster, instead of taking those linear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 steps, they use that framework and collapse time. And that's where self-trust really comes into play, because in collapsing the timeline, what we're really saying is, I'm going to embrace the polarity that I'm going to experience. And I'm going to keep going because I'm going to lead. And I'm going to pull myself forward because I'm no longer willing to accept the standard that I'm working at. And that's where the gap or the difference is between those that perpetually heal and talk about their healing and talk about their trauma, or talk about nervous system, or talk about, plant medicine, or all these different things, without fully integrating into the fullness of who they are. That's why success feels so empty when it's achieved. And I'm not saying, let's go skip down the road and, sing, the hills are alive, etc. What I really want to get across is this. There is a simpler way to heal and move forward. But that takes a reset and deciding that you're open to receiving and it gets to be ease. You're ready to be visible without worrying about being judged. You're ready to claim your wealth and use it to then allow others to be more wealthy and abundant and prosperous. And you're ready to be you, the real you, the full you. Not the one that's polished or the one that is curated, the one that is a full you, that's waiting. And it's through that framework of align, activate, embody, and ascend, you get to be comfortable in your skin. And along the line, you get to be okay that people will deselect from your environment for you on behalf of you. And then people will select to step into your environment for you and on behalf of you to support you. that's really the focus point for this live, because I I see so many talented, gifted, incredible, wonderful women spinning or talking about feeling stuck or in a plateau, and yet they've done the healing. Excuse me. They've done all the work, they've done the inner work, and they're still asking, why? What's going on? Why am I still not moving forward? Or if I manifest, I always go back to my reset point. If I create something, I go back to this reset point. That's the gap. That's the delta between where you are and where you want to be. So I'm going to pause and ask if there are any questions or any observations that. Okay. So I want to wrap this up because I know your time is very precious, and I'm that the reason our body keeps tapping the brakes, and the reason that our nervous system taps the brakes as well, it's not because we're not capable. It's because we haven't learned to make the decision in a way that says, this is okay. This is safe. It's like giving your system a pep talk in conjunction with your soul. And it's not like I need to have a come to Jesus moment. It starts with anchoring into, what have I been avoiding? And what happens if I trust myself to actually lean into the things that I've been avoiding? And if I trust myself, what happens when I move? What happens when I take those actions? Even if it's clunky, even if it's not perfect, even if, you'll go back and refine and iterate again. Because this really challenges the convention of you need clarity and confidence before you move. No, you don't. I thought that. And that's, as I said, for a period of time, it was just circling and circling. It's like, I need more clarity. I need more confidence. But now I recognize, having gone through this, having lived through it, having worked through it, I now know that it's a subtle shift, a subtle movement in the framework that's required. And then making that decision that you're going to walk forwards no matter what. And of course, there'll be adjustments, and of course, there'll be iterations. That's not going to shift. That won't change. And of course, we'll get the challenges that life throws to us. But the beauty of it, we'll see that it's happening for me. This is something that's actually happening for me. It's not like, oh my God, I thought I'd cleared this already. I thought I've been healing this. I've been working. Sometimes, more often than not, that healing and that clearing is only the branch of the tree that you're getting to. The aligning stage gets to the root of the tree. And that's where we shift. That's where we shift out. That's where you go from circling to intentionally moving forward and building a business or a career or multiple business and a life that says strategically, I know this is for me. And I know even if I can't see the evidence yet, I know that it's still happening. And that movement, even when it's on Saturn or messy is like, it's the most powerful thing. Because when you break that set point for your energy, you then start to break the set point for your money, for your everything starts to move and you'll notice it and you'll feel so much better. So I'm going to pause there for now because I think there's a lot to take in. And just remind you that over the course of some weeks, I'm delivering some activations here on Substack. And I'd welcome you to subscribe and, receive one, taste it and feel the difference when you have or notice that the things that you thought were stopping you or the things that you thought were blocking you are not actually the things. They're actually the things that are here to make you feel safe so you can step into the fullness of your power. So I hope this gives you one small reason to take a really bold move as a next step. Between now and next week, what bold moves would you take and show up differently, to be seen differently, not to be worried about, how you're going to look or what you're wearing, but just show up and be seen and know that people will receive you. And then knowing that when you enter your temple, when you enter your wealth codes, you can see where you've been circling or where you've been shrinking to please others. Because the time for us, time for women, is now. So I leave you with that, and I leave this up for anyone who wants to watch it or come back. I absolutely appreciate your time, and thank you for watching this. And this is something I'm going to do for the next 4 weeks, just go live once a week, just on particular topics, because I really think I've been called to do this because there's a crunch point, and with the new year coming up in February, the Lunar New Year, the energies are shifting. So I know that next week I'm going to be talking about the energies. But for now, I just want to say thank you, and I really appreciate your time. And I'll see you next week.